Well, I was just about to say I'd like you to introduce your long-time former workmate, Susan Elliott. Thank you.
We work really well on these things and plan them and all that sort of thing. However, it is a particular delight today to be able to have my long-time buddy, we won't say how many years, but a former workmate from Channel 7 Days in Sydney. Hi, Susan Elliott.
Hi, Kay. Hi, Brian.
Hi.
Lovely to see you again.
Lovely to see you and your lovely backyard. That's not what we're going to be talking about today, but very first of all, before we get to your article, I wanted to just have a quick catch-up about your travel bona fides. I mean, when we worked together, I was always just a little bit jealous, as was everyone else in the newsroom, that you're always gadding off somewhere. Have you always had the travel bug?
I was called the queen of scam in the newsroom, but that's because I love to travel so much. So I'd always come up with some really great stories, pitch them to the news editor, and get them over the line so that I could travel and get away from perhaps the more mundane news stories. But yeah, I've always had that travel bug.
Yes, while I was chasing crooks and politicians, sometimes the same thing, you were in far-flung locations, but you didn't stop there. And then a certain program started at Channel 7 that I had a bit to do with. In fact, I was in the very first episode, and that was a program you had a lot to do with, Sydney Weekender.
Yes, and I'm still there. We are into the 27th year of production. So I've been there, as you have been, Kay, since the very first episode. So 27 years.
Wow. So that makes you, 30?
Just a smidge over.
Same as me, only a smidge. So you've been to some far-flung locations with Sydney Weekender as well, not just around Sydney or even around the country. Where is the most exciting place you've been?
Definitely that would be Canada. We were so lucky to be sponsored by our British Columbia Tourism recently, and they took us to British Columbia to tour the top 6 ski resorts in Canada, in British Columbia. So that was amazing. It's a very big Sydney weekender, but it's definitely worth the journey to go there, and that was definitely a highlight of overseas elements.
Wonderful. So how did that come about that you were writing for Outback Magazine?
I was doing a shoot for Sydney Weekender, and it turned out that Glenn McGrath was not only a passenger on the flight, but he's also a 50% owner in the company. So I got chatting to Glenn and found out that he was also very much involved with R.M. Williams' Outback Magazine. So I said to Glenn, I need to get in that magazine.
So let's talk about your article. And I have to say, reading it, I started smiling from the very first sentence. And I really felt like I was actually with you there in the air. What is the Outback Air experience?
It's really unique. And I've done a lot of road trips, but very few air trips. And to see the Outback from the air is completely different. First of all, there are so many optical illusions. You think you know what you're looking at, but it's very hard to gauge height. So you don't know if you're looking at something that's flat or high or a gully, or the illusions are bizarre. And just seeing things from the air really puts things into perspective. And I mean, the trip I did was 3,000 kilometres in 3 days, 5 iconic outback towns, and to see that by road would take you weeks, many weeks. So it's a real treat to be able to fly over the outback, get to where you want to go really quickly and have a great time in that town, and then get on the plane and off you go to the next place. So it's a bit like a speed date, but you're seeing things from a different point of view as well. And we had a couple of graziers on board our plane who spend all year working on the land, and they said just to see the outback from the air was a real treat.
We're looking at some of your amazing photos and video at the moment, and it really is just quite incredible. I mean, I guess people just do not understand how big this country is, how absolutely enormous it is.
Well, a highlight was William Creek, which is just over the border in South Australia. And William Creek is in the middle of Anna Creek Station, which at 6.5 million acres is the biggest cattle property in the world. It's the size of Belgium. So Australia has a cattle station that's the size of a country, and you might not get that sense from the road, and even from the air. It's enormous. And William Creek is this tiny little outpost right in the middle of it, and they've got a pub and an airstrip, and that's all they need. Friday night, all the workers from the station come into the pub, and it's an incredible outback experience. And once again, you could drive the Oodnadatta track and get there, but to fly in and just be there instantly is a real treat.
One of the comments I read, which I felt was really, really interesting, was a guy that said he'd been there 30 years or 40 years or something, and he still hadn't decided whether he's going to stay or not. I mean, come on.
That's Trevor Wright.
Yeah,
that's Trevor Wright.
Yeah.
He's Mr. William Creek. I love they call William Creek Bill Rivers, which is kind of fun. But Trevor Wright, he arrived 30 years ago to see if he liked it. Yeah. And he hasn't decided yet.
and also the BHP Hotel.
Yes, that's a big favourite.
The Broken Hill pub. I love it.
That's it, yeah. No, Broken Hill's got a lot of great pubs, and that's one of the newest ones.
I don't want to give away all the secrets because we want people to actually buy Outback Magazine so they can read your article themselves and enjoy it.
Hold it still.
Excellent. But some of the characters you met there, I noticed that usually the comments finish sort of, when you have a bit of food, but what happened after dark? There's nothing about that time. Is it like Vegas? What happens in the Outback stays in the Outback?
Oh, look, anyone watching this will know that travelling in the Outbacks can be tiring. They're long days. And even though flying is probably a little easier than doing the kilometres by road, honestly, at the end of the day, you're still tired.
You say long days. I reckon they're long nights, right?
Long nights, yeah. But the plane is absolute luxury. It's called Cessna Caravan. It's the workhorse of the Outback. But this one has been fitted out in luxury corporate with leather. It's so quiet. You've got lovely noise-cancelling headphones, so you can listen to what's happening on the flight deck or not. And there's always 2 pilots on board, which is reassuring. But it's spacious. It's really lovely. And if you know Glenn McGrath's, I think, maybe 6'3", he fitted in really easily.
That sounds wonderful. Now, a lot of our listeners are actually travellers themselves with a caravan, but 3 days, 3 nights sounds like it's definitely doable. What other places can you tell us about that Outback Tours are doing this year that some of our listeners could actually do themselves and have a little break from those endless roads, long roads?
Yes, well, most of the flights do leave from Sydney and some leave from Cootamundra. But as I said earlier, they can all be custom made. And so Outback by Air fly across South Australia, Western Australia, right up to Darwin and the Kimberley, over to Queensland through all of the Birdsville, all the lovely towns up in Queensland, far north Queensland that you'd love to go to. So you really can go wherever you want on the flights. They've got 5 sort of packages that you could look at. But, they fly everywhere.
Wonderful. Well, we'll put a link to them and also Outback Magazine. And what about Susan Elliott? What's next for you?
Oh, I've got a really exciting trip coming up soon. I don't know that I can tell you about it.
Oh, you're coming to Hervey Bay? That's where we are. That's where we are at the moment.
Well, one of my other favourite Sydney Weekender trips, and one that I wrote about for another magazine, Signature Luxury Travel and Style magazine, was a scenic flight that you can do over the Antarctic, which is, if you're talking about Outback, that really is Outback. Down under Outback. But there's another flight coming up over the Antarctic in April that I'm on board for, and it's really, really special. So,
well, you've heard it first on Food, Wine, Pets, Travel, so we can't wait to have you back after you've done the trip, and we can promote your next article as well. That would be great.
But Outback by Air, it's a great way to mix up. If you're travelling Australia by road, it's just a lovely, refreshing break to do something a little bit different. It's not expensive. It's quite affordable. And just to have, like you said, Kay, a 3 or 5 day break to get up in the air and scoot around to maybe some of those towns that you won't get to on your travels and see it all from the air. It's great.
Fantastic. Thank you very much. Until next time. Au revoir.
Okay. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Sue. Welcome. Bye. And in case you missed the name, that was Susan Elliott, travel writer extraordinaire. And the full story about Outback by Air and what they offer can be seen in the February 21 issue of Outback Magazine, brought to you by the good people at R.M. Williams. Check out the links on your screen or below.